Okay, here we go for day 2. This is going to be solving quadratics by square roots. Yesterday, you guys worked with radicals. Here's where we're going to use the radicals to solve some things. We've moved from the laundry room to the basement at my house, so hopefully this works well. I can talk a little bit louder down here. So let's get right to it. So a quadratic, first of all, is anything that has basically x squared as the highest degree. So everything we're going to do from here on out is a lot of quadratics. So keep that in mind. That just means x squared instead of x equals 36. So when we're looking to solve this, we want to take and go with something that will take x squared into just x. So the way we undo something squared is to take the square root. So we're going to take the square root of one side to get x, right? The square root of x squared is x because we divide 2 divide 2 in half, we get x to the first. We don't have to write that. And then 36, if we do an operation to one side, we also have to do the operation to the other side. So here we're going to take the square root of 36. Square root of 36 is 6. Now, one tough thing for students to understand on this is because positive 6 squared is equal to 36, we have to also account for the fact that it could be negative 6 squared, which is also equal to 36. Okay, so because of that, we have to put plus 6 or negative 6 to get our answer. And really what that means is that we have x equals 6 or negative 6. All right, this is just our symbol, so we only have to write it once. You'll see it on the multiple choice. I try to give some reminders on there. So hopefully we pick up on that. Now, one last thing about number 1 here is that on a graph of a quadratic is what we call a parabola. And we're not going to have to do a bunch of parabolas right now, but I wanted to show you that whatever this x equals, this is the x-axis, right? So whatever these are, if this is negative 6 and this is positive 6, that is where the parabola would cross the x-axis. Now we don't need to worry about the point down there right now. I just wanted to show you guys that whatever these two answers are, that's basically what the graph is going to look like, at least the overall idea. Okay? All right. Number 2, this time we need to, like here we had x squared by itself. We need to get x squared or y squared this time by itself, so we're going to add 64. So on each of these, we want to isolate the y squared, or whatever is squared by itself, we get 64. And then now, again, to undo something squared, we take the square root of both sides. So this answer, we get x equals, square root of 64 is 8. Now because we brought the radical was not part of the original. When you bring the radical in, that's when you have to account for plus and minus. So we get plus and minus 8 for that one. The parabola on this one would look very similar to that. It's just instead of being at 6's and negative 6, it'd be at negative 8 and positive 8. So the graph of this would look just like that. Right? Okay, so a lot of information there. Hopefully, like I said, you can pause at any point, and kind of get caught up. If you have questions, make sure you shoot me an email. So let's go ahead and get going here. Hopefully this is working out well as far as having the 5 questions. I'm really just trying to help you guys out as far as your learning goes. Please don't abuse the fact that you have multiple times that you can take the quiz. I'm really just trying to give you guys a chance to see what the answer should be, and hopefully you get a better understanding. So please don't click through it and be done with it in 1 or 2 minutes. These questions, hopefully, I don't intend for them to take 45 minutes, but we should not be done in 1 or 2 minutes. It should be something that takes at least 5 minutes probably to get it done if you're doing it right. Okay? All right. Number 3, we got 7m squared is equal to 63. So this time, again, we don't have m squared by itself, so we need to do that. Before we don't try to take the square root of this, we've got to undo multiplication by division. So we divide by 7, we get m squared equals 9. And so now that we have this, how do we undo something squared? We take the square root of both sides, and we get m is equal to, not just 3, but plus and minus 3. And that's what we get for that answer. Again, the parabola, if we were to look at that, would be at negative 3 and positive 3. It would run right like this. So there you go. That would be number 3. Like I said, pause at any spot if you have questions. All right, we'll go ahead and keep rolling here to number 4. Number 4, we got 0 equals 19 minus 19x squared. All right, now this one's a little tougher because we got the x squared move over. The x squared can be on either side. We need to get the x squared by itself. So how can I move this 19 over? I can subtract 19. And this one looks like it's going to be more difficult because you don't have perfect squares. 19 is not a perfect square. However, make sure when you move this down, you move the negative 19 with it on the x squared. When we do that, we're going to divide by negative 19 to get the x squared by itself. Now, negative negative is a positive 1. Sometimes students forget this, but 1 actually is a perfect square. So when we take the square root of both sides, we're going to have plus and minus 1 is equal to x. And that will be my answer now. Okay, the graph of this one, just to show you, would be at negative 1 and positive 1. The parabola would run right through there. We call these dots right here on the x-axis, it's what we call the roots or the zeros. I mean, we got square roots, so we call those the roots. Roots or zeros is another name for those. So there's number 4. We got one more left to go here. Like I said, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody. As I'm filming this on St. Patrick's Day, like I said, I try to wear a different hat each day, as you guys get to wear hats, hoods, and headphones, which you don't normally get to do that during class. Hopefully that makes things go a little smoother here. So number 5, last one. We've got y squared plus 144 is equal to 0. Okay, so we're trying to get y squared by itself. It looks like it would work out fine because 144 actually is a perfect square. We're going to subtract 144 to get this y squared by itself. We get y squared equals a negative 144. Now this brings up something interesting. When we take the square root of both sides, we get y equals, however, right now we cannot take the square root of a negative because we haven't talked about complex numbers. That's something you get into algebra 2. There is actually a way to simplify this, but for right now it's what we call a non-real number. So then, since this won't work, our answer is going to be no real solution. Sometimes you'll see it abbreviated NRS. There you go, there's that. All right, so let's keep up the good work. Everyone has done a good job from what I've seen today on as far as getting the Canvas quizzes done and ready to go. Hope everybody's staying safe, taking care of yourselves. And like I said several times, please let me know if you have any questions. You can check out Virtual Nerd. I put that link on there. I put the scientific calculator link to help you guys out. And then I also put some links to some other videos under the resources on the homepage. All right? So thank you guys very much. Have a good rest of your day. And hopefully it's not too bad.